After more than 3 years, the city of Oakland, California is finally ending its eviction moratorium. But landlords aren't happy because they're not ending it today, they're ending it in 6 months. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the end of the Oakland, California eviction moratorium. Now, finally, this is one of the last holdouts of all of these places that have eviction moratoriums, okay? And it's absolutely awful for the landlords who are going through this nonsense right now. Now, the landlords aren't happy with it ending the way that they're ending it because they're not ending it immediately. They said, hey, we're going to delay the end of this eviction moratorium for an additional 6 months, okay? It's not going to end until October. It's April right now when I'm recording this. So, yeah, landlords have to go through even more sacrifice and lose even more money to these non-paying tenants. And the tenants aren't happy either because they don't want it to end. They want free rent forever. That's what they say. Oh, I'm still suffering from the pandemic. We're 3+ years beyond the beginning of this pandemic. If you haven't gotten back on your feet yet, you're never going to get back on your feet, okay? You're just a leech, and you need to get back to reality and pay your rent just like everybody else. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. Do you think that they're actually going to let this thing end in 6 months, okay? Now, Oakland, San Francisco, the whole Bay Area down there, extremely anti-landlord. They hate landlords down there, and they treat landlords like garbage. Like they don't have any right to make a profit. Like they don't even own their own properties. Like the government owns it, or maybe the tenant owns the property, and the landlord is, somehow their employee or something. I don't know what they think, but it is stupid. So my opinion is that they say they're going to end it in 6 months. They're probably not going to do that, and they're going to extend it again, or they're going to throw like some sort of permanent protections in there that make it still impossible to remove these people, okay? They say they're worried about homelessness being caused by this, but if you have not paid your rent in 3.5 years, maybe you deserve to be homeless, okay? If you haven't been able to figure it out in 3.5 years, how long is it going to take? It's going to, there's no end date for you. The only thing you know is that the problems I have, they just keep happening. They just keep, you know what? In reality, people pay their own way. They don't have the government. They don't have the landlord they can fall back on. You act like the landlord is your parents. No, you pay your own rent, or you go and find somewhere you can afford. Anyway, let's get into this article. Okay, this article is coming from mercurynews.com, and it says, in Oakland, it's landlords who are unhappy with a plan to end the eviction ban. And it's not just landlords. It's landlords and the tenants aren't happy with the plan either. So let's get into the article and see what it says. Following intense protests by property owners against the city's pandemic-era ban on evictions, officials on Thursday introduced plans to ramp down the moratorium. An ordinance to possibly end the tenant protections that prohibit most evictions will likely be heard by the City Council next month, following a discussion by a council committee on April 11th. But at the same time, council members will also have the option of strengthening the city's just cause policies that make it tougher for landlords to evict tenants who pay rent for the first 12 months. So yeah, they're not just going to try to end the eviction moratorium. They're going to make stronger permanent protections for tenants. So they're going to make it even harder for landlords to evict anybody. And you know what? I'm not surprised. I mean, I keep telling you, whenever I read these articles coming from these places that are so anti-landlord, such as Oakland or anywhere in the Bay Area, I'm not surprised. Expect this sort of thing. This is why small mom and pop investors in particular shouldn't even waste their time investing there, because you're going to get railroaded by the city, the county, by everyone who thinks that they own your property. Most of the Bay Area adopted moratoriums on evictions in the early days of the pandemic, but Oakland has held on to its ban for much longer than other cities. San Francisco, Berkeley, and San Leandro similarly have yet to bring protections to an end. Tenant rights advocates have urged cities to hang on to their moratoriums, arguing that numerous workers in the region are still facing post COVID economic stress. Like I said, these people will drag this out forever. People are still suffering. Oh, we have to keep the moratorium because man, Billy lost his job 3 years ago and hasn't been able to find anything since then. He's just been destitute and impoverished for 3 years. Listen, man, I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. No one is buying this garbage. Okay, the only people who don't have a job after that long a period of time are people who do not want to work. They do not want to work. They are facing these economic problems because they don't want to work and they want something for free. They want to live for free, pocket that extra money, and spend it on something else. That's what they're doing. And that is dead wrong. It's dead wrong to expect landlords to subsidize these people's housing for them. Nobody subsidizes my housing. I don't have some random person paying my rent or I'm sorry, my mortgage if I miss it. No, I'm just out of luck. So yeah, these people need to get back to reality and stop playing the victim because they're not victims at this point. They are abusers. They are abusing the system. They're abusing these landlords. And what does it lead to? What is the end result of treating landlords like this? Well, the small mom and pop investors, such as myself, we're going to sell. If we own a single family home, we're just going to sell it to an owner occupant. There goes a rental right off the market right there. You know, the people who own the bigger apartment buildings, if they can, they're going to convert them to condos or co-ops. So they're going to sell each individual unit inside. Or in the cases where that's not possible, the landlords, if they don't make enough money to be able to cover their expenses, they might end up in bankruptcy. Okay? That means that maintenance and repairs on that building will not happen and it will fall into disrepair. So the tenants who got to live for free are going to be living in shambles because they bankrupted their landlord. Is that what they want? Of course it is. Okay? They don't want private people, individuals, to be able to own the property. They want the government to take over. They want to push for a socialist housing system. That's what this is all about. Tenants' rights. Oh, I'm sorry. But the city council's president, Nikki Fortunato Bass, said Thursday she had been consulting with experts in recent days about how the city could phase out those policies. This has been in the works for some time, and I've been actively meeting with people to let them know I would be scheduling it, Bass said at the council's rules committee, which sets future agenda items. Under the new ordinance, landlords still must provide tenants breached the terms of their lease and give 3 days notice for unpaid rent before proceeding with an eviction. So yeah, the landlord has to tell the tenant, well, your rent was due on the first of the month. I have to let at least 3 days. On the first of the month, that's when the rent was due. Okay, so you're basically saying no, the rent isn't due on the first of the month anymore. Now the rent is due on the fourth of the month or whatever. Because you have to give that 3 days notice. You can no longer file eviction on the first of the month. In addition, tenants can still avoid being kicked out if they can demonstrate lost income or other financial hardship due to COVID related setbacks, according to the proposal authored by Bass and council member Dan Kalb. Oh, yeah. I mean, all the tenant would have to say, oh, see, I got COVID. Listen, we've all had COVID. Everybody, well, not everybody, but the majority of people out there have had COVID. I've had it like 3 times, okay? So saying that you had financial hardship, what, you had to call in sick a few days? What, you had to miss some days of work? What? No, this is garbage. If you had hardship 3 years ago, that's one thing when they had all the businesses shut down, etc. But it isn't even like that anymore. Okay? The rules have changed and they haven't changed with the times. They are pushing this stuff as though we're still facing the same pandemic we were in March of 2020, and it's just not. So now landlords are getting punished by just overreach of the government. That's what this really falls down to. And like I said, I wouldn't put up with it if I was a landlord in that area. I'd get out of business. I'd go buy somewhere else. There's plenty of states nearby. If you want to do out of state investing where there are a lot more property rights. I used to own properties in Arizona. Okay. Arizona is still a very landlord friendly place and much, much more landlord friendly than California. Yeah, it's starting to change. There's a lot more rules and regulations, even from, when I sold my property. So, you know, but for now, I would say, hey, go look at Arizona, go look at Nevada, or if you want to, look further across the country, it doesn't really matter. Just get your investment dollars out of California, because the only thing they're going to do is continue to pass laws and rules that make it impossible for you to make a living.